Hey guys, welcome back. Hope you're all well. So welcome to a new episode of Ask Snes. We've got some great questions this week. Thank you very much for submitting the questions, guys. Do appreciate it. The questions are split up into three categories. I've got gaming questions, I've got film questions, and then I've got other, because if I get questions where there's not enough questions to fill a topic, I'll just stick everything under other. So if you want to watch a particular section of the video, just look down in the description of this vid and I've put the timelines down there for you, the timestamps. So let's crack on with the gaming questions, guys. Let's get into it. So a bit of water first. There we go. Right, okay, wet the whistle. All right, so first question from Christian Hristoff. I think that's how you pronounce it. Hope so. Sorry, Christian. Question is, I'm not going to spoil anything, but since you haven't played The Last of Us Part 2, are you aware of what happens in the story, and did you see what the reception has been? As you say, I've not played the game. I don't know much about the story other than what they've showed in the trailers. I've managed to avoid it, thank God. I know that there's a controversy. I'm not entirely certain. I assume anyway from what I saw, because I've tried to avoid it the best I can, it's something about pushing politics on people, it's the usual. I think that's where they're going with it. So I can kind of guess where they're going with that, I think. I don't know. I'll wait and see. When I play the game, I'll be able to give you my impressions. It's more, it's really difficult to talk about something you haven't played, isn't it? Especially with this kind of thing, because I may play the game and not even notice it and not see any controversy. Although I'm sure I read somewhere that a character's been killed off. Now I can't see him killing Ellie. That would be a bit mental. It would be a bold move if they did do that. So maybe that's what it is, and maybe it's nothing more than that. I don't know. Maybe it's another like Mass Effect situation where people are just unhappy with the ending and that they think it should be changed to how they want it to be instead of letting the artist be creative. Who knows? But I'll be interested to see when I play the game, and I'm looking forward to that, because as I said in the previous video, I recently played through. I think I said in the previous video. I hope I did. That was a video coming up. I'm not too sure. I'm losing track. Anyway, I've mentioned about Last of Us. I played through it recently, and in fact, it might be the next video you see thinking about it. Oh well. Yeah, that's a game I've played through recently on the PS4 again, and I absolutely love The Last of Us. It holds up so well, so I'm very excited to play the new one. The new one though, I'm still not sure about the graphics. It's like a lot of modern games now. It's getting too realistic, and I don't particularly like that. I prefer games to be games. And I know that they're cinematic in nature, but graphically, I don't like the ultra realism. It freaks me out. Next question from Keith Hewitt. What is your opinion on the recent Mario Nintendo Direct? Great question, mate. Yeah. So I will start, of course, by saying that I am a fan of Nintendo, like most gamers are. I'm called Snestastic, so obviously I'm a Nintendo fan. But I'm going to be completely honest about that. I watched it and initially I thought that's really cool, but then the more I thought about it, I thought actually, you know what? Nintendo's the only company out there that can repackage the same games over and over, and people will just lap it up and buy them, no matter what the price tag. As long as it's in a shiny new box, they'll just buy them. And I find it quite funny more than anything, because Nintendo are really the only company that can get away with doing that. It's amazing. I mean, the Mario All-Stars is essentially the one they put out on the Wii. It's just the Super Nintendo games repackaged again, so it wasn't that fussed. Mario 3D World was absolutely brilliant, because that should have come to the Switch a long time ago. And the fact that they're putting the extra Bowser DLC, brilliant as well. That's really nice to say. I absolutely love Mario 3D World. It's such a great game. The 3D All-Stars, though, is a really interesting one. Now, you've got, I believe it's Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, and Mario Galaxy. Now, the problem I've got is, because I heard, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, because I don't follow Nintendo these days, but from what I heard and read, all they've done is make them widescreen and improve the audio. They haven't touched the graphics, and you can see that from the video they've shown they don't look like they've updated anything. And I find that really odd. I don't understand how they can charge full price when they do that. You see, I think with Galaxy and with Sunshine, they're on Wii and GameCube, so I would assume they were 480p, so you could really just upscale them to 720 or 1080 quite easily, because I think the Switch screen itself is 720, isn't it? And then it's 1080 on the TV, so they could do that quite easily, I would assume. So that probably wasn't a big deal to make on widescreen and whatnot. But with Mario 64, I think that's quite disappointing, to be honest. I would have much preferred myself if they'd have made the effort. Imagine if what they'd have done was what the, I can't remember the name of the company now, but the developers of Mafia have done, where they've taken a PS2 Xbox era Mafia game and rebuilt it from the ground up and made it look absolutely gorgeous and like a modern game. Imagine that with Mario 64. Just imagine if Nintendo's trailer had been, and you know, this would have been incredible, Mario outside the castle walking towards the castle, and he does the run and triple jump and flip. And then as he flips through the air, the environment changes around him, and he lands, and he's there in shiny, brand new, like Mario Odyssey level graphics. And he's like brushing himself off, and he's like, let's go! And then he runs off into the castle. That would have broken the internet if people saw that happen. I need to buy a Switch if I saw that happen. Because Mario 64 is such a great game, and if it had gotten the modern aesthetic, I think that could have been incredible. Imagine that. Modern HD graphics with modern controls as well, instead of the one analog stick control that we had previously. Yeah, you could have a proper camera on the right hand stick. They could have really made an effort with that. Maybe they'll do it in the future, I don't know, but with Nintendo they tend to just repackage the same games and just throw them out there, and they always sell, so you know. But yeah, I thought that was a real missed opportunity. I mean, the fact that you get Sunshine and Galaxy is fantastic, because Sunshine is like the most underrated Mario game in my opinion. I remember getting a GameCube, and that is really the only game I remember playing, and I used to play that for hours. I absolutely loved that game. It was so good. I loved the water backpack, that jetpack thing was, what a brilliant idea. So I don't understand why, for some reason in the media, Sunshine seems to get slagged off when it's a really, really great game. But yeah, there you go. I don't know. Maybe one day they'll update Mario 64, but I don't understand. Yeah, they could have just done that, called it Mario 64 HD or Mario 64 Definitive or something. They would have sold, I mean, they're going to sell a lot anyway, but they would have sold even more. You imagine the internet, if that had happened, it would have been incredible. But, you know, it didn't, so there you go. Right, LFC Gamer and Vlogs. First question. Have you ever bought a game purely for its music rather than to actually play it? No, I haven't, mate. I'd never do that, to be honest with you. I appreciate good soundtracks, and especially in the old days of 8 and 16-bit. But no, I mean, the reason I buy games is because they look interesting. Either it's a genre that I enjoy playing, or in modern day, it's going to be like the story looks interesting, the characters look interesting, as well as the gameplay. ZX Spectrum or Amstrad CPC? Well, mate, it's an easy choice. It's got to be the Spectrum, isn't it? As you know, I'm a Commodore guy, but if I'm picking one, it's going to be the Spectrum and mine off. I don't like the Amstrad. And the reason I don't like the Amstrad is because I think, looking at the colours, it looks oversaturated, it looks weird. The Spectrum, despite its shitty colour palette, at least it's got really cool sprites, big sprites, well detailed sprites. And you know, I mean, I was really surprised recently. I was watching a video from Paul, Mr. Bads, and he was showing Renegade, and Renegade on the Spectrum actually looks pretty decent. They've done like a really nice like sunset skyline, and it's all coloured in correctly. And so it showed me that actually the developers could have made more out of the colour palette with the Spectrum. They didn't need to use all those block colours all the time. And maybe there was a technical reason why they did that. I mean, I don't know about programming. But yeah, it's a real shame they didn't. But yeah, if I'm going to pick one, it has to be the Spectrum. You know, I still wouldn't pick either one in reality. I'd pick a Commodore because Commodore were king, but there you go. Nat Kennedy Breeze. I always think in RPGs that feature turn-based combat, it's like the game stops and you have to have something akin to a chess match. Why can't it just be a normal fight? Do you agree? Yes, mate. I've only ever played Final Fantasy VII where that was the case. I believe that's a turn-based game. And I hate that. I don't understand the logic of standing there and casting spells and taking your turn. You're right. I'd rather just run over and smack them with a sword or punch them in the face and just fight properly. I don't know. Maybe it's a mindset, and that's, you know, some people just really enjoy doing that. You know, to me, I don't. That's the kind of thing that puts me off RPGs, which is why everyone always says, "Oh, you need to play action RPGs. You'll probably get into it more." But then there's the time sink as well, and it's like, nah, I'm not doing that. What would it take to make you embrace PC gaming? Ooh, a miracle, to be honest with you. I really have no interest. I don't like Windows. Windows sucks, and it's totally unreliable. I would not want to run gaming for a bloody Windows PC. The cost of it is insane. The graphics cards are ridiculous. I don't like the elitism of PC gaming. That really bothers me, the master race bullshit. And I know people say, oh, you can use an Xbox controller. Well, then why don't I just buy an Xbox? I know it's not as powerful as a PC, but I just have to plug it into my TV and play the games. I don't have to fiddle with settings. I don't have to worry about Windows crashing and blue screening and all the other stuff that can go wrong with PCs. And the real thing really is the cost. I mean, the cost of PC gaming is insane. So yeah, it just doesn't appeal to me. And also, you know, if you want to take a console somewhere with you, it's quite easy. Just stick it in a box and take it with you. A PC is a big piece of equipment to lug around. It just really does not appeal to me at all. And it's, you know, it's not even like there's any games that could appeal, because there's loads of great games on the system. And now that both Microsoft and Sony are going over to PC as well, which is quite bizarre. So there's opportunities to play games. I just don't like the elitism, the cost of it, the constant having to upgrade, and Windows, you know, it's just, yeah, it's not good. So yeah, I'll stick to consoles. Would being able to rent a game like you could back in the day make you more tempted to check out games in styles that you usually wouldn't? I've never rented games, mate, so to be honest, the thing that used to really get me interested in trying different games was demos. I loved when they used to do that, when they used to put a little demo up, you know, like a level or something. That's the kind of thing that really would sell me. I'd be willing to try a demo of a game, that a game that I would never try. Like Heavy Rain, for one instance, was one. I remember playing the demo, I couldn't get along with it. But then my dad got the PlayStation moves. I downloaded the Heavy Rain demo just to test it with the moves, and it all clicked into place. And I was like, actually, this game's really cool. It's not something I'd normally play. So a demo would be fantastic. I believe there's a Crash 4 demo out. I don't know if it's available to everyone. I saw Victor Lucas playing it the other night, so I've got to check that, actually, find out if it's available. Why did British game developers succeed so much in the 8, 16 and 32-bit eras of gaming and not so much anymore? That is a really great question. I don't know, to be honest with you. I mean, like Rare, obviously they got screwed because they went to Microsoft, and Microsoft haven't really done anything worthwhile with them. It's a real shame. I mean, maybe people will disagree with Sea of Thieves and stuff, but come on. They're not the Rare that they were in the 1990s on the N64, are they? That was when they were really kicking ass. Yeah, I don't know, it's really weird. I'd like to know myself, actually, why they haven't transitioned as well into the modern day. Maybe it was financial, maybe it was too expensive to buy dev kits, and they just couldn't do it, and you know, it wasn't possible to move into the next generations. I'm trying to think, who was it I was watching recently? I was watching someone recently talking about I can't remember who it was though. It was a British developer. I don't know. I don't know. It was something to do with the fact that they couldn't move into the PlayStation era because the dev kits were far too expensive and they just couldn't do it. And that's probably what put a lot of people off. You know, it's a big expense to get into that. And yeah, I don't know. It's a real shame. But you know, with the indie scene that we have now, it opens up a lot more doors, doesn't it? It's like going back to the 80s, really, with the bedroom coders. So it gives everyone an opportunity in a level playing field. How many digital games have you bit the bullet for? At the moment, I can only think of 2. There's Streets of Rage 4, which is the most expensive digital game I've purchased. And the other one, I can't remember the name of, the Turrican clone. I'll put something on the screen because I can't remember the name of it. Which was alright, it was pretty decent. That wasn't expensive at all. But those are the only 2 so far. I haven't actually bought a proper AAA digital game because I'm not paying those prices. They're far too expensive. The whole digital game thing, man, it's like next generation is the logical place to start going digital. And after last night's announcement of PlayStation 5, I think it's 450 quid for the disc or 360 for the digital version, which is excellent. But again, I've got to find out what the hard drive size is because the Xbox Series S has like half a terabyte, which is absolute shite. And if it's SSDs, it's going to be expensive to upgrade. And you know, you've got to, when you look at £360 for a digital console, you think, oh, it's really good, until you have to add on the cost of buying an SSD to upgrade the hard drive, because you know, digital games are not going to be small. So that is a bit of a pain. So really, I mean, digital gaming, I'm willing to try it next generation, but it would really come down to A, the cost of the games coming down to a reasonable amount, and B, is storage. You know, I assume with Xbox, because they have proprietary SSDs that fit in the back of the machine, they're going to be really expensive. With Sony, I don't know how it works on Sony yet. I don't know if it's like they do with all the other PlayStations, where you just take the hard drive out and change it, and it's just a standard SSD, which I assume would keep the cost down. I hope it's not proprietary, because they messed that up with the PlayStation Vita, didn't they? I don't know. Yeah, I am open to it though. I am willing to try digital at some point, because you can't. There is a point where you, as you can see, I've got all 4 PlayStations there. I've got the games lined up. Eventually, I'll run out of space, and you know, you can have so much. It's just so soulless, digital. That's what I hate about it. It's so soulless. It's just code sitting on a machine, and you just get like a little thumbnail, and it's like, yeah. But you know, I am open to it. I mean, I mean, I think realistically, to be honest with you, more than anything, cost comes into it, because the Intellivision Amico, for the most part, is digital, but the games are £10 or less, or $10 or less. So I don't see an issue there. I think, well, it's not that big a deal because it's not a massive investment of money, so it doesn't bother me. But when a game's like $60 or $70 or 40 or 50 pounds, I ain't paying 50 quid to download a bloody game. I want something for my 50 pounds, you know what I mean? It's like the Amico, the way Tommy's been talking about physical media, it's still a digital download, but you get all of this physical. He hasn't explained exactly what it is, but you get like bonus materials with the physical, and you get something that taps on the machine and downloads the game. But then also you can sell your physical media on, and you can detach that digital game from your console, sell it on eBay, and then the new person just taps it on and downloads it. And they've still got, say they give you like soundtracks and art books and figures and all that kind of thing. So that's a really cool way of doing it. That's like a perfect, to me, a perfect bridge between digital and physical. And even then, the price is only going to be double the price of a digital game, so you're talking $19.99. You know, that is good pricing, a good deal for the customer. I mean, I know of course people say, yeah, but the PlayStation and the Xbox games are far superior in their scope and graphical ability and storytelling. Of course they are. It is priced relative to each type of game, but I just think you can't charge full price for a digital copy. It's not right. I mean, you know, I understand for a disc, because you have to manufacture the disc and the Blu-ray case and the artwork, and you have to ship it out to the shops, and you have to pay the stores to stock your games, to sell all of those things. But digital, it's just on a server in California, so it's bullshit. You know, I don't buy it at all. Okay, flashback TNT. James, hello James. What springs to mind as a genuinely scary or chilling moment to you in any film that you have watched or game that you have played? So I'll put it under the gaming section because it's both really. I think game-wise, it's going to be Condemned. That game scared the shit out of me. The beginning of that game, when you first get to the murder scene and you're investigating the body, and then you start hearing those, like, I don't know if they're on drugs or what they are, but you hear the villains, and they're running around, especially at the time when I had 5.1 surround, and you're hearing them all around you screaming and shouting, and they just come running out of the dark and smack you. Absolutely terrified me. That was so well done, that game. It's brilliant. I definitely recommend people playing that. If you've never played Condemned, it's well worth a try. Film-wise, nowadays I don't get scared at all by anything, because I know how films are made, so it doesn't really bother me. But back when I was younger, I remember when I saw Scream 3, not the most scary film in the world, but my parents had gone away on holiday, and I went to see Scream 3 at the cinema with my friends, and I came back to the house and I was all alone. Not a good thing to do. I should have got someone to stay over with me, because I was really paranoid that night. So yeah, those are the ones that really stand out to me, I think. The Mac Evaluation asks, do you own mini consoles, and do you think them being hacked and allowing all the games you need helps replace the need to own and play the original hardware now, as they all have HDMI out? I don't own any myself. I have owned the Snes Mini at one point, and yeah, I think being able to hack them and put all the ROMs on there is fantastic. For anyone who wants convenience and doesn't want to get into retro gaming and physical media, it's the perfect opportunity really, isn't it? You know, you just hack your Super Nintendo Mini or your NES Mini, or even your PlayStation as well, and you can just have every game you ever want to play, and it's just convenient. It's there, plugged into the HDMI. So, you know, I mean, that's the thing with digital as well, isn't it? It's convenience. I understand all of that. It's just, you know, there's a lot of, it's not a straightforward situation. But yeah, I think the minis, they serve a purpose for people that want to use them. So we've got a couple of film questions. And the first question comes from LFC Gamer and Vlogs. And he asks, what films are so bad that you can't help but love? You see, these are all the questions I struggle with. Because obviously it's subjective as to what somebody thinks is good or bad. And I mean, I suppose everybody thinks the Transformer films are terrible. But I love the first one. I think the first one's actually a really, really good film. And, you know, Batman v Superman, most people think that's shite. It's one of my absolute favourite films and my favourite comic book film of all time. What else is there? It's really difficult. I can't really think of anything else. I mean, those are two that are definite. Yeah, it's... I don't tend to agree with people most of the time. I find that a lot of the time nowadays, I'll watch a film, absolutely love it, and then I'll find out everybody else thinks it's rubbish, or I think a film's terrible and don't understand what the big deal is, and everybody's raving about it, and I'm like, I don't get it. What's so good about that? It's like District 9, when everyone went mad about District 9. I thought it was terrible. I hated that film. So, I don't know. Time up, James. Hello, James. Do you think that the superhero genre of film will fizzle out? And if so, where do you think the industry will go next? It's a good question, because it's been asked a few times over the last couple of years. People seem to think there's like superhero fatigue. For me, there is in TV, but not in film. I'm kind of like at that point now. I can't be asked to watch any more superhero TV shows. It's like every time I see a new TV show and they've got powers, I'm like, oh, not again. But with films, for some reason, I just don't get bored of seeing them. I think because the characters are interesting, and also because I've never read comic books as well. There's all these characters coming out, like Black Adam, and there's what was that one? Yeah, there was another one yesterday that was announced. I can't remember the name of the character now. But DC and Marvel keep bringing up these characters I've never heard of, like Ant-Man. Didn't know who Ant-Man was, and I love that film. It's brilliant. So I think that's the good thing, is they can bring all of these characters forward. The new Suicide Squad's got a was it Plastic Man or something? I think it's called. No, Polka Dot Man. That was the one. When it Polka Dot Man, and what the hell, Polka Dot Man? And they've got all these weird characters, and they've got King Shark, and it's like, how are they doing this? So there's always fresh ideas that are coming forward, which I think is what's going to really propel the comic books genre and keep it going for quite a few years yet. When it does eventually come to an end, because there will be a point where they try something different, because I'm sure at some point people will want a fresh take. I don't really know, what can they do? And this is the thing, we never know until it happens. And then, you know, it's like when the Terminator come out, no one probably saw that coming, or the Matrix, or the Avatar. Films that really are game changers, that really change people's perception of what film can be. I don't know. I mean, obviously, Terminator was a sci-fi film, so that's always in its own genre. And I suppose Avatar is as well, really, isn't it? But it didn't really kick off a new genre. I don't know. I don't really know what could be the next big. I think realistically, you know what? The next big thing could be video game movies, if they're done right. The Uncharted film is the one that could really tip the balance, I think. If they get the script right on that film, because there's the whole thing with Tom Holland, it doesn't make a lot of sense where they're going with it, what age range they're going for. But I think if they get it right, they could do a really good job there. They could really start making. The problem I've had with video game movies is, for me, they always do two things wrong. They pick the wrong games that you can't make films out of. I don't understand why they do that. And secondly, they lean too much into the game, and it's always like, oh, do you remember this? You remember that? Oh, look how much this is like the video game. And they should just make it a film. They should just literally. This is the good thing about Naughty Dog games, is that you've got a story. So you're basically telling the story of Nathan Drake. It doesn't even have to relate to the 4 games or Lost Legacy or anything really. It can just be its own individual story about a time period in Nathan Drake's life. So because Tom Holland's a bit younger, you've got scope there. You can just do a completely separate story, but it's still the same character. You've still got Nate, you've still got Sully. You might not even have Elena because he's younger, so he won't have met her yet. And it could be like how he meets Chloe in the first place, and do things like that. And you could really expand on it. You don't have to be constrained by the actual games. And I think this is the thing now. The only good thing about modern gaming in that respect is that we have these really great storylines that people can take and mould into a film, because a film is not a game and a game is not a film. They're two totally different mediums, and so you have to adapt. It's the same with a book. When people say, oh, it's not like the book, well, it can't be. It has to adapt so that it works as a visual medium. When you're reading a book, you're using your imagination. You know, when you're playing a game, it's really about the gameplay. The story's very nice, and you know, it's cool to get involved with the characters, but realistically, the gameplay is the king. So when it comes to film, you haven't got the gameplay. You've got to really get into the story and the characters and make it engrossing and get people's attention and pull them in. So I think, yeah, if done right, because for me personally, the Tomb Raider film did a really good job. It had nods to the Tomb Raider the Tomb Raider 2013 reboot, and also it had bits of Rise of the Tomb Raider in there as well. And I think they did a really great job of bringing the story in, changing a few things around to make it work more as a narrative in a film. And it was a really, really fun action family adventure film. And I think this could be where we start going in the right direction now. I'm just trying to think, like Warcraft was never going to work. They went for that because of the Lord of the Rings and the fantasy thing always sells. So I didn't see that working. I mean, Street Fighter was, you could probably do something, but it wasn't very good. Mortal Kombat, again, it was a good film, but you're limited to what you can do unless you do backstory on the competitors, I suppose. And I'm trying to think what other there's films that have been coming out that have been absolutely shot. Like the Resident Evil films, right? There's plenty of storyline there that you could work with. The films are okay, but they're B movies. They're just schlocky horror, and they could have been a lot more to them. I think they went the opposite direction and just went basically we'll do what we want with this. Yeah, but I think video game movies could be the next big thing that really surprises people once they get it right. If Uncharted comes out, it's an absolutely brilliant film, and it gets like praise from critics and fans alike, and it gets a good box office. Then we could see investment in really good storylines and game storylines. You know, I mean, the best video game film we've had wasn't even a video game film, and that's Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise. You know, it takes video game tropes, but it's not based on a video game, and it's the most video gamey film you'll ever watch. It's absolutely brilliant. And then, of course, Ready Player One, which was essentially VR. Absolutely incredible film. So it is possible to do gaming-related films and films based on games. And the more we go forward, the more narrative's going to be there, so they're going to have more opportunities to expand on the characters. And Jesus Christ, you know, this has been a long answer. You've really got me with this one. It's really got me thinking. I like that, James. Well done. So yeah, I think video games are probably the next big genre after comic books. So on to the other section, and the first question we've got comes from Keith Hewitt. Hello, Keith. And Keith asks, what is your favourite board game? I haven't played board games since I was a little child, so going back, I mean, I would probably, can you count Connect 4, or is that just a game? I'm not sure. I loved Connect 4 when I was growing up. That was really good. And I used to play a lot Ludo, Snakes and Ladders, which is Shoots and Ladders in America. I think that's right. What else did I used to play? I don't remember playing. I think I played a little bit of Trivial Pursuit. I don't remember playing Monopoly. I'm trying to think. I don't know, because to me a board game is like Snakes and Ladders. But I would kind of class like Connect 4 and what's that one called? The one with the body where you pull the body parts out. I can't remember what it's called, but you know what I mean. And like Mousetrap and all of those as well. They all sort of mix into the same genre. But yeah, I'd say board game wise, I'll probably go with Snakes and Ladders because it's pretty simple, isn't it? Really, it's a simple concept and it's quite a lot of fun. LFC Gamer and Vlogs asks, what is your favourite Cadbury's chocolate bar? Trying to remember who makes which chocolate bar can be quite difficult. I'd probably go with Fruit and Nut. I love Fruit and Nut. It's just a staple, it's a classic. And yeah, I never remember who makes it. I think, Cadbury's used to make Whisper, didn't they? If I remember correctly. That used to be my favourite. I love Whisper. I don't even know. I think they still make it. That's a great chocolate bar, that is. Also, I know you're not a fan of football, but if you had to pick your least favourite team, who would it be? You're right, I know. And not only am I not a fan of football, I know absolutely sod all about football. So this is a difficult question for me to answer because I've got no basis to choose my least favourite team because I wouldn't have a clue. I know like Manchester United and Chelsea and Liverpool and like the big teams like that, but that's about my limit. So if I was going to pick one, if I was forced into a corner to pick a least favourite, I would probably go Aston Villa because that's on the other side of town for me. I lived on the Birmingham City side, on the Blues side, so I've got to support the local team. So yeah, I'd probably say Villa was the least favourite. But again, understand I know absolutely nothing about football. What is your favourite alcoholic beverage when socialising, whether with friends or family? And I've also got a question from Nat Kennedy Breeze on that same line, which is, do you have a favourite cocktail? My favourite drink is usually just standard beer. I don't really push the boat out, so I like a good cold pint. You know, can't go wrong with that really, can you? So a Foster's or something, just something nice and crisp. I don't like the heavier beers like the Stella Artois. I hate them. They just don't taste nice at all. I like the more lighter, crisper beers. In terms of cocktail, you know, I haven't had a cocktail since my 20s. We used to go to a place, I can't remember the name of it, was it? Yeah, I can't remember the name of the place, but there was a bar we used to go to, which was, if you live in Birmingham, it's in a place called Shirley, which was just outside of Solihull. And they used to have a bar out there, and we used to go in there before we go to Solihull to go partying. And we used to have loads of cocktails. We used to do half-price cocktails, and so we just, you know, I can't remember the name of them, but every cocktail I had was great. I've never had a bad one, let's put it that way. So yeah, so we used to go in there and get absolutely hammered on cocktails, and then we'd get a taxi into Solihull, and then go to Rosie O'Brien's, the club, and have a few drinks in there and dance the night away. So yeah, it's good times. And the last question is from Nomad Lone Star, who asks, which long dormant TV series would you love to see make a comeback for one or more season, or even just a one-off special? I'd love to see it happen to Miami Vice, but it won't happen. Or Alias. For me, mate, I would absolutely go with Alias, 100%. They have talked about it over the years, and it's just a case of getting the cast back together. I know Jennifer Garner wants to do it, which would be brilliant. But yeah, I mean, I think they're all doing their own little thing now. Like Greg Grunberg, he's out doing Hollywood films. He's been in like Star Trek and Star Wars. I don't know what Michael Vartan's doing anymore. Maybe he's doing TV, I don't know. Jennifer Garner's doing her own things as well. She's doing the odd film here and there. It would be really cool though if they could bring it, even if it was just a one-off special. Just because I think, because season 5, they got cut short because the fans had a bitch and a moan about the way that the character was. I'm trying to be careful here, but then again, the show's so old, does it really matter? No. The way that Michael Vaughn was treated, people went apeshit on the internet, and then the ratings went down and the show got canned, and they cut it short at like 17 episodes. So it would be nice if they could do another, just a one-off, or ideally bring it back, but I don't see that happening. But yeah, that would be amazing. A couple of others that I would absolutely love to make a comeback. One is Sliders. I mean, Sliders is perfect. How the hell they haven't done that again, I don't understand. It went off the rails with the Chromags. I wasn't too keen on that part. But the actual sci-fi side of it, sliding between worlds, that would have been amazing if they redid that now with the effects they can do. Then there's a really great show that came out called Ringer, which starred Sarah Michelle Gellar and Ioan Gruffudd. And it's brilliant. The concept was that Sarah Michelle Gellar is a twin, and she is married to Ioan Gruffudd's character, but she gets killed, and her sister, who's off the rails and a drug addict, I think she's a drug addict if I remember rightly, she's a complete mess, and she takes her place because he doesn't know his wife is dead. Absolutely brilliant show. I think I remember rightly, only got one season, and there was like a massive cliffhanger at the end of the first season, and I was so pissed off when they cancelled that show. I swear to God, even though it's only one season and it has a cliffhanger, if you ever get the opportunity to watch Ringer, give it a chance because it's really, really good. Then there's V, which is obvious. They brought that back a few years ago with Morena Baccarin. Very good. I really enjoyed the reboot that they did, and that's another one that got cancelled after the second season because I assume the ratings weren't there, which is a real shame. The original miniseries is still the best, but that was a great reboot, so I'd love to see that come back. Terminator Sarah Connor Chronicles, again a show where 2 seasons leave you on a cliffhanger. John Connor goes to the future and we never know what happens, and realistically that was the only great Terminator they've done outside of the first 2 films. I'm a fan of the sequels apart from number 3, but I understand and I recognise that those films are not a patch on the first 2, and Sarah Connor Chronicles is the best Terminator related thing they've done since the films. Ghost Whisperer, another one I absolutely loved. I used to watch that all the time. Yeah, when they made Jim dead, when they made him a ghost, I was not happy about that at all, but that was a great show. And you know, Jennifer Love Hewitt, I absolutely love her. She's in 911 at the moment, but if they ever brought Ghost Whisperer back, that'd be brilliant. And of course, Quantum Leap, why have they never done that? I mean, if there's a show that could be remade really easily with incredible visual effects nowadays, that was one of the best shows back in the day. I love watching Quantum Leap. So yeah, I'd love to see them do that. And then lastly is a show that actually they were talking about doing, but on foot, which is amazing that they were even thinking about doing this. But it did, unfortunately, it didn't come to pass, and that was Elf, Alien Life Form. I would love to see that. I think it was 2 years ago they started talking about doing it, and then it just got canned. But you imagine how they would do that now, especially if they didn't do it with CG, and they actually did it the way they did it back then with a bloke in a suit. That would be amazing. I would love, because it was just the most insane program when you think about it. Like this alien lands on Earth, and he just starts living with a family, like a normal domestic life. It didn't make any sense, but it was a really funny show. So yeah, I would love to see that happen. So there you go. Thank you very much, guys. Really appreciate all those questions. Absolutely brilliant. Good range as well this week, I thought. Give me a lot to think about. So of course, if you do have any questions for me, guys, just leave them down there in the comments, and then in the next video, I'll answer them. And this is a bi-weekly series as well, so in 2 weeks' time, you'll get another episode. And yeah, it's going great so far. So thank you very much to everyone who's supporting this series of videos and interacting as well. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Look forward to reading your comments, and I'll see you in the next episode.